Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and today we're unboxing the Samsung Galaxy Book S. I've been waiting for this for a while. It was announced a while ago. It was the first Snapdragon 8CX device to be announced. And and then it launched earlier this year. I actually saw it at CES, which made me even more excited to get my hands on one. And so now it's finally here. Now, Snapdragon 8CX. What's that? If you're completely unfamiliar, if you don't watch my reviews at all, because I've reviewed several, probably more than almost anyone, Windows on ARM devices. So this is the latest generation of Qualcomm's PC chipset. The C stands for compute. The X stands for extreme. Extreme. Yeah, so the first generation was Snapdragon 835, which was basically a repurposed phone processor, a little overclocked, and they were terrible. That first generation was a first generation. You know, it wasn't great. There weren't many native ARM apps. There's a lot more now. The second generation was the Snapdragon 850, not to be confused with the 855, because that was mostly a repurposed Snapdragon 845. And a lot of reviewers actually got that confused. And yeah, it's actually more like an 845. The Snapdragon 8CX was the first chipset from Qualcomm to be built from the ground up for PCs. They promised Intel Core i5 performance. Now, what do you get with Windows on ARM? Again, if you're completely unfamiliar. One, 4G LTE integrated into the chipset. In my experience, and I have reviewed several of these, like I said, a Windows on ARM PC has much better 4G LTE than an Intel PC that has an LTE modem. And it's usually a Qualcomm modem, but it's a lot more seamless. I've had so many problems with Intel PCs that have cellular connectivity. So many problems, inconsistencies, signal dropping, just things not working. I don't have that problem with ARM PCs. You also get Instant On, which is something that sounds minor until you actually try it. Have you ever used an Intel PC where you lift the lid, you press the power button to wake it up, and then you sit there and it takes a few seconds. You're waiting a few seconds and you're like, did it actually take? And you go to press that button again, and right before you press it, the screen comes on, and then when you press it, the screen shuts off. That happens. So with an ARM PC, there's big little architecture where it has big cores to handle big tasks and little cores to handle little tasks that isn't sucking down power. So it can do stuff in the background while it's asleep without using a lot of battery. So when you press that power button, it's going to instantly wake up. This is the same kind of processor your phone uses. So it can instantly wake up like your phone does. And then, of course, there's no fan. And Qualcomm promises better battery life. That's not always been my experience that there's better battery life, but I still feel like there's way more benefits. Qualcomm sent me a few extra stuff here. This is a stress ball, and this says, stop stressing over battery life. Yeah, and then we got, in this little box over here, there's a fan. Because, do you know why they sent me a fan? There's two batteries, and this is one of those fans you could just kind of turn on. But it says on there, fans were not meant to be in your PC. Yep, that's that. It's cool that they kind of do this stuff. Then they sent me this nice sleeve for the laptop. So let's get it open. I mean, you can see from the box that this is thin and light. That's clearly the angle that they went for when they made the box. It's a very nice box, by the way, but do not accept if seal is broken. Well, that's all right. It's just kind of funny. Like, I know why the seal is broken. It's because usually when companies send out a review unit, they check it out a little bit, just like make sure everything works. So this has got a Snapdragon 8CX inside, 8 gigs of RAM, either 256 or 512 gigs of storage. Still, the only company to make an ARM PC with 16 gigs of RAM is Microsoft with the Surface Pro X. And I really appreciated the Microsoft Surface Pro X, just that they went premium on Windows on ARM, because that was one of the problems. Like look at this. Look how thin this is. We needed premium hardware for Windows on ARM. Like, most of the hardware that we had was somewhat mid-range. This is sort of the successor to the Galaxy Book 2, which the Galaxy Book 2 was a Snapdragon 850 device, and it was cool. It had a Super AMOLED display. It was a tablet, but with an attachable keyboard. It had a Super AMOLED display, but only 4 gigs of RAM, so like it's a problem. So we have our charger here. It's all this stuff. Here are the seals that aren't broken, let me tell you that. Now here's something cool. This is a 25-watt charger. 25-watt charger for a laptop. But you know what makes that pretty cool is that you can use the same charger for this laptop as you do for your Galaxy S20, which also comes with a 25-watt charger. Okay, USB Type-C to Type-C cable. That's pretty standard. I'd expect that. There's also something else in here, which I suspect is... There's going to be a SIM pin somewhere. Oh, we got a Type-C to Type-A adapter because there are no Type-A ports on this device. And then we've got some paperwork. I actually don't see a SIM pin anywhere, but that's okay. I do have many of those. All right, here we have it. You can see on this side, this is a super, super thin device. Okay, on this side, we've got a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C port, 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack, and then over here, we've got another USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-C port. Now, keep in mind that this is a Qualcomm PC, and so there is no Thunderbolt 3 that's happening over here. Not that you could really do much with Thunderbolt 3 on a Qualcomm PC, because think about it, what's the actual benefits of Thunderbolt 3? One of the biggest ones is attaching an external GPU, and you probably wouldn't even have the drivers to do it, because you do need you need native drivers on ARM. What you can do, you can oh, this is being activated with Verizon, but yeah, you can run emulated x86 apps, 32-bit Intel apps. You can run native ARM64 apps. You notice that Firefox and Edge come pre-installed here. I don't know if it's going to be installed after I do a factory reset, but you'll notice that those are the two browsers that are here. That's because those are the two browsers that run native ARM64, and that's important. You really don't want to install Chrome on this thing, because Chrome, the thing about browsers is that they generate code in real time, so it's hard to cache. So those run notably slower than a regular app that's just running, in emulation. Most UWP or store apps do run natively in either ARM32 or ARM64. You can see there's no real Office, by the way. Office is also native ARM64 mostly. Some of it is still x86 just for compatibility with add-ons. Now we can see this is the 256 gigabyte model, which most of the ARM PCs I've used are 256. We've got a 1080p display, which is looks pretty nice. It's not Super AMOLED or anything like that, like the Galaxy Book 2 was. Notice this is the clamshell. This is as far as the display folds back, which is kind of new for Windows on ARM. This might be the first true clamshell that we've seen in an ARM device. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. Most of them have either been convertibles or they've been tablets. So this is kind of interesting just to see someone build such a super thin device. Now, the keyboard is very shallow. One of the complaints that I've seen in some of the reviews I've seen so far is that the keyboard is too shallow. But it's also a device that is under a quarter of an inch thick. This is one of the thinnest clamshell PCs that you're going to find, and it weighs in at 2.18 pounds, which is wild. Or that is 0.96 kilograms. This is about as, I mean, it's one of the lightest PCs out there. Trackpad doesn't, whoa, something weird is going on here. But yeah, the trackpad's going now. That was a little weird. But hey, we're gonna connect. I'm gonna do a factory reset at some point and connect to Wi-Fi and get updates and anything that's not working properly now probably will work in a little bit. So take that with a grain of salt. It does have a fingerprint sensor in the power button over here, which is indicated by that sticker that's right on top of it. And I assume that I have to remove that sticker to get the fingerprint sensor to work. Trackpad is clickable, which is something that's often sacrificed on something that's so thin. But the good news is that works. So it can be so thin because there's, one, there's no fan in it. Two, the battery can be smaller just because the Qualcomm chip is so much more efficient. So what you're getting is a super thin, super light laptop with cellular connectivity and solid battery life. That's what this is. Guys, I've really been waiting to try this thing out for a long time because one, I was excited about. I'm a big fan of Windows on ARM. Anybody who knows me knows that I love ARM PCs, and one reason for that is one, I just like to have some competition for Intel. I refuse to believe that we just need to have Intel in PCs for the rest of our lives. Like somebody needs to be able to do it better always. And the other reason is one, I love having cellular connectivity. I think in 2020, every device we have should have cellular connectivity. That's it. Everywhere I go, I shouldn't have to worry about connecting to the internet. And the fact that every ARM PC has cellular connectivity, that means a lot to me. So the 8CX, like I said, it's the first chipset from Qualcomm to be built from the ground up for PCs. Now, the only other one that I've reviewed is Microsoft Surface Pro X, which technically uses a Microsoft SQ1 processor, which is really a fancy Snapdragon 8CX. Like, it's really just an overclocked 8CX. Microsoft said there's optimizations in it for Surface, and as far as I know, the GPU is slightly different. The clock speed is slightly different, and that's about it. And it's got a Microsoft label on it. But this one's out. Lenovo's got one coming out too, the Yoga 5G, which is about to be the first 5G PC. So that's going to be exciting as well. But yeah, that's about it. This color is called Mercury Gray, and it's available from Verizon. I think it's just Verizon right now, and probably Samsung.com, so you could get a model that you could use on any carrier you want. Obviously, if you pop any SIM card in there, it's going to work. T-Mobile, AT&T, you're good. So, yeah, I'll have a review on this in a few weeks, so stay tuned. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.